So moving along I love this expression, at a snail's pace, but in a good sense, that we can really take our time with each of these areas, with all of you, and not rush, Mm. Yeah, so right speech. Oh, we're going to move to right speech. Don't even get me started about right speech. It's such a big one for all of us, is it? Yeah, yeah. And of course, we're going to substitute the word right. Mostly I do, but substitute skillful for right. Yeah, it's skillful. More skillful, less skillful. Yeah, and more so than right, wrong, good, evil. Skillful and less skillful. Is the general direction of all of these areas of the rightfold path, and just like if we take a step back, what is the teaching about? The fundamental teaching. It's the handful of leaves. That wonderful sutta where the Buddha talks about the handful of leaves. He refused to answer all kinds of abstract, theoretical, macro, cosmological questions, And he would say, listen, and he was sitting here, he'd say, look, we're sitting in the forest here. You see how many leaves there are in the forest? Well, there are all kinds of knowledge as well. There's all kind of understanding about how the world works in various ways. But what I'm interested in is this handful of leaves right here. And this handful of leaves is suffering and the path that leads to the end, toward the end of suffering. That's it. That's what I'm going to be speaking about with you. That's what my teaching's about. I don't teach everything. I teach suffering, the causes of suffering, and what leads toward the end of suffering. That's the noble eightfold, the four noble truths. Yeah, that's what he taught. So therefore, each of the 8 folds in the eightfold path must have something to do with that, right? With suffering and the end of suffering. Every piece now that he lays out has something to do within that framework. Yeah? So speech. Right speech, skillful speech, is one of the 8. It's one of only 8, right? So it must have something to do with dissatisfaction or distress or suffering. It must be connected with our mental suffering. Is that possible? That speech could be connected with mental suffering? Let me think. Yeah, come to think of it, maybe it does have a little something. Yeah, maybe it has, quite a bit to do with mental suffering. When I review, those things that come up, the things that I regret, how many of the things that you really regret in your life are connected with speech, with impulsive speech, with angry speech, with critical speech, with harsh speech, with judgmental speech, with something that came out, that we spoke, that expression, think before you speak, be mindful before you speak, something that comes out. Yeah. I'll speak for myself. A fair amount of my regret is connected with that. And some of it is not spoken about so much. Things not said that needed to be said also. That too sometimes, yeah? There is a truth that needs to be spoken, but I don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers. So I'm not going to speak it. Yeah. And so the area of speech, like all the areas that we will take up together, it's really about taking an inventory. It's about looking more closely, more intimately. No one else is in there with you in your speech. It's just you. It's like this. Just take the inventory. Let's not go to we shouldn't do this. We should do this. We should be. We should be good. We should be nice, not naughty. There's all that in there. But let's just take a closer look first at how it is. How it is. What's going on with our speech in a way that we kind of know, but let's look a little more closely. Why do we speak sometimes? What are our motivations? None of us are 100% altruistic. We're not wired to be that way. We're complex cats. I'm speaking because I want to be seen. I want to be acknowledged. I want to be appreciated. I want to belong. I'm speaking because I'm feeling a little anxious and I need to fill the space so that I don't feel more anxious. I'm saying something about somebody else because it actually, in a strange way, makes me feel more connected to other people who are speaking about somebody else. Well, how does that feel? What is my motivation? What are the array of motivations? Really, it's the array of agendas that are connected with speech. Can we just take a closer look at all of that? First, let's just take a look. What are we about in our speech? It's not so much don't speak harshly as what does harsh speak feel like after you've spoken it? Sometimes we don't want to feel that even. I'm just irritated. Well, mindfulness says, okay, there are a lot of cause and effect links in here. How does it feel afterwards? How does it feel? Is that a pattern? Is that a style? Is that a way of speaking that you'd like to continue? Is that a pattern that you want to reinforce moving forward? Is it or not? As if I don't have the answer. I've done a little bit with that myself, and I'm continuing to work on this one. Wow. My grandmother, one of my, great beneficial presence in my life, she used to say, I don't know, maybe some of you had this way back. I don't know if you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Yeah. Now, the thing is, I only had my grandmother for 16 years of my life, but I never heard her say something not nice. I heard her I felt her bite her tongue a couple of times, but she never spoke ill of someone else that wasn't in the room. I never heard her criticize herself, and I never heard her criticize me or anyone else. Yeah. Well, I'm not even saying I'm aspiring to that, but I am aspiring to continue to work on my speech, to continue to take a closer look to what's up with my speech, what the agenda is, and how it's landing for others, how it's landing for me. And my sister got that, she's got that speech thing down kind of, which irritates me because she's here often. She might be here this morning. I don't know if you're out there, Melanie. She comes a lot. But my sister got that more from my grandmother. Myself, my speech has not been that, not been that sublime, and it's very humbling for me, and I continue to work on it. Yeah. So it's really bringing more investigation to our speech, both before we speak, but also afterwards. Sometimes it happens, it came out, something I blurted something, just where it came out. Okay. Then just take a moment. How is that? How did that land? How does that land? It's really just bringing that investigation to something that is so important in our lives. It's the gateway to communication, affiliative energies, difficult energies, selfing energies, so much wrapped up there. We're going to take some time on speech. Yeah? It takes some, and as part of that, we want to see what kinds of things we're whispering into our own ear, of course. Yeah. I say something inappropriate, then I'm going to say to myself, you idiot, why'd you do that? That's not quite the follow-up I want to add there either, right? That's not quite it. It's like, just take a closer look. What I say out here and what I say in here. Yeah?